Monday, June 25th, 2018, Maneco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. So today I want to talk about the iniquity of the fiat money system and fractional reserve mechanism that it allows. I'll briefly explain how this system siphons the wealth, the labor, the capital of the general public into the 1%, if you like, or the powers that be, the financial elite, politicians. Hopefully it will help you explain to people in a very simple manner how it works and open their eyes to how how unfair it is. Before that, of course, I'll have a look at the markets this morning. Markets are looking quite interesting. It's just before 8:30 a.m. London. We've got gold and silver are down slightly. Of course, it is disappointing and frustrating, but I think people should still be not be concerned. You hold gold and silver as insurance. The day things unwind, and by unwind I mean a big crisis happens, because it will, because nothing's being fixed. Leverage in the system is still really high. So yeah, hang on to your physical. Don't worry about the fiat money price. Just keep doing what you're doing. Live your life, as I've said before, and you'll be prepared. You won't have to worry about some kind of financial calamity, because you'll be ready for it. So spot gold right now is $1266.50, down about $3. Range has been $1264 to $1273 overnight. Silver is down 12, $1633. Range has been 1628 to 1651. We are nevertheless above last week's low. That's the only positive at the moment. The Dow right now is down 155 points, 24,420, down 2/3%. S&P is down 15, or just over 0.5% at 2739. And the NASDAQ 100 futures down 40, or down about 2/3%. Currencies, excuse me, dollars mixed is down, is up against the European currencies. So the pound is down 0.25% at 132.28. The euro is down also just about 0.2% at 116.35. And the dollar, nevertheless, is down 0.5% against the yen at 109.44. So that's why it's strange that gold and silver are down, especially gold, because gold usually, or the dollar versus gold, does not do well when the dollar is down against the yen. So we should see gold up against the dollar, but it's not happening. You probably know why anyway. The people who run the fiat money system and the central banking system, they control gold, and gold is a tool they use. So they can't do it forever, though, and they will use gold to their advantage to change things, and that will be upwards to reset, to make sure that the fiat money that they've printed over the years is still around and they can still use it. So they're still in charge. So why are markets down like this? Well, Zero Hedge has a story. It says U.S. futures slump as Trump drops new bomb in trade war. China continues to weaponize yuan. So that's a headline here on Zero Hedge. I found there's a story in the FT. It says, this is from a few hours ago, it's from late yesterday. Trump targets China investments now as trade war heats up. And I'll quickly read here. It says the Trump administration has decided to restrict Chinese investment in U.S. company and startups in sectors from aerospace to robotics, as it prepares to deploy its latest weapon in the escalating trade war with Beijing. The move could have even greater longer-term consequences for the economic relationship between the US and China than the escalating tit-for-tat tariff war. According to experts, and Mark, one of the biggest changes to the US's open investment regimes in decades. So, yeah, it's almost like they want to go back to pre-fiat, pre-Nixon shock, how it used to work. The capital markets were a lot more closed during the Bretton Woods and the gold standard. Trade was balanced. But I made a live stream last night, as I usually do on Sundays, and we're talking about how this is probably all a distraction, the trade wars and all the threats, because they know that something is up, that the system is going to implode. So they need to, and why is it going to implode? We've been talking about this. I've been talking about this for the last few years since I started my channel. The reason it's going to implode is because in 2008, when the system almost imploded and collapsed, they had to save it. Not by reforming it, but by pumping even more money, by keeping the system the same as it was prior to the 2008 crisis. So they haven't fixed anything. They papered over it. The powers that be, central banks, BIS, they haven't solved anything. Even the BIS recently now, they published a paper saying that the big banks that they regulate, they're doctoring or window dressing their balance sheets at the end of the quarter when they have to report it, or at the end of the year, by using the repo market to basically fake how much leverage they have. And they're admitting it, and they're allowing them to do it. So that's why the system will implode, all because of the fiat money, the fractional reserve, all the leverage that's still in the system. It's not because of trade wars or Trump and China. They will use that as an excuse, as well as they will use Brexit as an excuse. And I've said that for ages, that Brexit is just a scapegoat. The problem is debt. So now the iniquity of the fiat money fractional reserve system. Well, I've taken it from this book, The Nameless War, by Captain Ramsey. He was the only MP during World War II that was imprisoned in the UK. But I'm not going to go into that. I'm just going to go into a section where he talks about how the system creates imbalance, and it basically destroys the economy. And this is in reference to when the Bank of England was created. He's talking about it. And he goes on to say, and he even criticizes gold. And I take it from page 18, and I'll read it here. It says, gold was soon to become the basis of loans, 10 times the size of the amount deposited. Well, there is the fractional reserve. In other words, £100 in gold, you could replace that for $100 in gold, would be legal security for £1,000 of loan. At 3%, therefore, £100 in gold could earn £30 interest annually with no more trouble to the lender than the keeping of a few ledger entries. And he goes on to say, the owner of £100 of land, however, still must work every hour of daylight in order to make perhaps 4%. The end of the process must only be a matter of time. The moneylenders, or the bankers, must become millionaires. Those who own and work the land, the Englishmen and Scotsmen, must be ruined. It's not only people who own the land, but people who do things like nowadays, manufacturing, people who do real jobs in the economy that are actually necessary, builders or decorators or even lawyers and architects, anyone really, unless you are involved in the financial process. It says, and he goes on to say, the process has continued inexorably till now. He wrote this book in 1952. When it's nearly completed, it has been hypothetically camouflaged by clever propaganda as helping the poor and mulcting the rich. It has been in reality nothing of the kind. It has been in the main the deliberate ruination of the landed classes. You could actually, instead of landed classes, you could say the middle classes, the working classes. Yeah. So, and who's benefited from that? Well, it's the 1%. The City of London, Wall Street, Frankfurt, the financiers in Paris. Yeah, and that's why there is a huge unemployment in the world, even though we're told that the unemployment rate is really low at 3.8%, but they don't count the 100 million, almost 100 million people that are giving up work, finding a job in the US. They don't count the people that have several part-time jobs, are not earning that much on zero-hour contracts in the UK. They don't count the almost 30% youth unemployment in continental Europe, and probably 20% here in the UK. They don't talk about that, and that's why it's happening. It's this fractional reserve fiat money system in a free market system where you have sound money or anything people decide to have as money, the market, gold, silver, or Bitcoin, and where there is no government imposition of a monopoly. In such system, fractional reserve is very difficult because it's dangerous, because the lender is susceptible to runs, and if he doesn't have the item or the money that he's lent, he's gone. And the problem is that governments have been protecting the system. By bailing out all the banks in 08, they've perpetuated the system. What we need is a system where it's very easy nowadays. You can see whether someone who's lending something has something. And that's called maybe the blockchain. It's all transparent and open to the public. So that's why also I'm not in favor of, you could lend cryptocurrencies and earn interest on it, but we need to be careful that we don't make the same mistake of allowing people to leverage that, to fractional reserve it. So there you go. That's the way to explain how unfair it is, because they might only be charging 3%, and you might say, oh, that's not usury, 3%. But if they can leverage their balance sheet 10 times more than in half, that means that the 3% becomes 30%. So, and sometimes they even leverage more than 10 times. If they derivatives, they leverage 100 times. That means they're earning 300%, even though you're getting a loan that you think you're paying 3%. The lender is actually making 300. So there you go. That's what I wanted to talk about. If you enjoyed this video, please share it. Give me a thumbs up. Yeah, sharing is important, especially with people that you think might like this kind of information and are not aware of my channel, so we can get the network effect and get more and more people to know about this. And you can also follow me on Steemit, DTube, and on Twitter. And I'll talk to you later. Take care. Have a nice day. Bye.